All right, so today we're going to be going through what you should not do at the gym. There's a lot of stuff to do when you get into the gym, and there's a lot of big equipment, and it all looks fun, and you see people doing things on it that you're like, wow, I should be able to do that, or I want to do that. And what I want to tell to you in this video today is there are certain things that just aren't worth it. It's not worth you hurting yourself or training on a device that was never meant for you to train on personally. It was just meant for the masses to try and train on it. And that's not what we like to do with our training. So one of the things that we want to avoid is a pec deck, or any machine that you're sitting in the machine and it's either here and you're trying to bring them together, or sometimes you'll see ones that come here and they're trying to bring your arms down this way. And so what the problem with those machines are is that you're sitting. That's the first problem. Sitting is not a functional position. So when we're sitting somewhere, a lot of times our posture can kind of get a little sloppy. And so we're just relying on the back of the machine to produce the stability for the movement that we're pushing against. And in our workouts, in all of our programs, we're looking for your body and your posture to hold your stability, and that to be what you're using, not just the back of a chair so that you're pushing in a sloppy posture. So also make sure with any machines that you're doing that you can control the range and your posture does not pop and buckle and pop and buckle. Whatever you're doing at the gym, things should be stable through here. If you are going to sit and you just love your pec deck and you don't want to give it up, then that's fine. Everybody, it's a free world. You are able to do that. But what I would suggest is you better be as active as you can through your posture as you do these movements, because if you're caught here, you're going to find yourself with a shoulder issue, an impingement in your neck and your shoulder. There's a lot of things that can happen from sloppy posture on a machine where you can progress your weights where you probably wouldn't progress them to if you didn't have a back to lean against. So one of the other things that I want you to avoid is a passive bench press, meaning if you see one of those benches that people are laying on and they're doing a bench press with the bar or dumbbells or a kettlebell, they're okay, but the problem is that, again, I'm laying on a surface. I'm not really having to use my posture properly. So I can just push things away from me in a non-functional position. Again, another thing, when you're laying down and you're doing a chest press, in this position, my legs are supported on the ground. And so I might even say, even though it's a resting position for your body to be in, this is a better position to me than someone who's laying on a bench with their legs hanging off the edge where they may be in this type of position in their back. So it's just really important that whatever you're doing, you're using your core. But the bench press needs to be done with your ribs anchored down into the ground, not popping up, and making sure your shoulders never shrug up into this position. If that starts happening, again, you're not training yourself into something that's sustainable. You're kind of training yourself to hurt. And that's not what we're trying to do with any of the programs that we're instructing. Another thing that you should stay away from in the gym is the seated hip abduction adduction machine. So that's the one that you sit in, and there's usually something that you put your feet into, like stirrups, and you're trying to squeeze your legs together repetitively, and then there's usually some handy dandy thing that goes and pulls your legs out, and then you're trying to bring them in. So there's those versions of a seated hip opening and closing action, again, are seated. So I don't like them, because when are we like this in our life? It's going to end up pulling tension into here, which usually builds tension into here, and you're not going to get the isolation to what you think you want to get. So if you do need to get after your hip abduction, adduction, extension, and flexion, what I might suggest is one of those machines that has the handle where you can stand and you can press your knee up into the pad, or you can put your knee up on it and push back down. You could also machine and push it out. In all these demos, I want you to note that I never once buckled my body out or flexed my spine trying to do whatever action I was doing. All those demonstrations are what not to do. You want to see that everything through this area is connected and that there's no worry that you're pulling your posture apart to try and strengthen a muscle. Okay? Isolation's great, but you have to be isolated with good posture. We can't just be focusing on just the muscle we're working. So one last thing to think about when you're at the gym is to watch out for those stationary bikes. They're fine, but they're seated. So if you're on one that's like upright and it kind of perches you forward, a lot of times it'll kind of build some tension in here, especially if the bike is not set up properly for yourself. So you can either make sure you have somebody who's trained, look at your bike, how it's set up, if you are going to be on a upright bike. But if you're on one of those recumbent stationary bikes, just realize that's going to put that relaxed state into your back and sometimes will cause a little irritation through your hips and sometimes lead into back pain. So none of the cardio and the bikes are negative unless they hurt you. So don't be scared of something if it's not bothering you. But if every time you go and get on the bike, you have a little pain when you're on there or you have pain afterwards, that might be your body trying to tell you that it doesn't like the bike. And so sometimes it's just that you don't have the endurance and the strength built up to do that long. So if you do need to or feel like you really want to keep your stationary bike in your routine, try to make sure your sets are pretty short. You do 5 minutes here, go do some exercises, reactivate your core so you're not just sitting there doing repetitious cycling of your legs without this stuff being really engaged and turned on like it should. So those are the main don'ts and some of the do's that you can do in replacement for things that you'll find at the gym that might not be that great for you. If you have any other questions or you want to know more on this subject, just please let us know, give us some comments, give us some feedback, and we'll be happy to give you some more videos. Thank you.